Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another Critical Blast broadcast. That's easy for me to say. And it's another night that we're going to spend with the LCS guys. And I have totally misadvertised this because I said that we were going to have Yule Carter. How you doing, Yule?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing all right. I said we were going to have Michael Tierney.
How you doing?
Michael, how's it in Arkansas?
It's warm. It's fine.
And I said we would have maybe Perch. Well, we have Perch. I guess it's maybe Dave tonight, but he's not here yet. Perch, how are you doing out in your corner of the woods?
I'm trying to breathe, but I'm doing okay other than that.
The red skies are not indicative of colliding Earths. Just letting you know.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us feel like that is happening by everything that's going on, but hopefully that goes away soon.
It has been a crazy week, hasn't it? First of all, are you guys out on the West Coast? Are y'all safe from any imminent fire threat?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's no. It's just pollution. I think there's no danger. You're the same way, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm not anywhere close to anything like that, but I guess it could happen. I had a earthquake centered in the city that I actually live in, and it was like two of them within like a minute of each other, like centered. I've never had one centered actually in the city I was in, but it was small, so no big deal.
It's small enough to make you think, "Gosh, I hope it didn't shake books off the shelf down at the store."
Yeah, it's on my own shelves.
Oh.
That's the stuff I care about.
well, yeah. I mean, because the stuff in the store is insured, right?
That's right. It's all insured.
And of course, Michael, you've got no inventory anymore.
Well, I've got some, but not much.
Did your stores go up for auction? I saw that there was the.
Well, what it is I put I've kind of split both my stores up. They're doing two different things. I've still got both stores, but one store I'm just doing all my mail order for all my customers who want me to keep filling their subscription orders. And my other store is now an eBay store. And I was auctioning off some things, and I was getting down to the last few things of danglers and stuff like that from the store that I was putting on auction.
But the buildings are closed and vacant now, right?
Yeah. One I rented, and my lease was coming up right when this all happened. That was part of the decision to go ahead and close. And the other one I owned, and I had people competing to buy it. So I was like, well, that was another part of the decision. And that's all sold. That's cleared, emptied out now. So that's all done too.
It's not going to be the same driving by there sometime and seeing some other business operating out of there.
No, I had customers in tears when I was closing down. And almost 40 years. It's a long time.
Yeah. Now, Perch, you've been looking to open a store, right?
Yes, I'm trying to get back open again. I punted for basically this year, just based on what's happening, and I think I'm looking at some other regions, but I've continued to acquire stock. So that's actually this week, to add to the complexity, bought out a couple shops. I've heard kind of a horrifying number that I don't quite believe, but maybe you'll knows in this Puget Sound region, which is a larger Seattle area. They said that they're thinking about half the shops have closed as a result of this. I have a hard time believing that's true, but I did notice that when I went to go pick up some, basically an auction, two of the shops that I thought were still there are gone and just quietly closed. So potentially, I think this region's been hit pretty hard.
I've noticed that like there have been some California stores that have closed, but overall, I think they're all pretty much still around, at least Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it is in Southern Cal, but that's a big difference for those of you that don't know. There's a long space in between.
Yeah,
and I don't know how like even the smaller ones on the way to like LA are, or even how many there are. So I can't imagine it's good, but I think it's the product more than anything. If you can't get it out to your store, or if you have fires, and I mean, I had a whole day where I was like, why am I even bothering? The sky's red. It was pitch dark at like 3 p.m. Sometimes I have the lights off all day just because I don't want to sit in a lighted room. It's nicer, with the sunlight. And my whole store was pitch black inside if I took the lights off. And no customers coming out that day. So it's just like, another thing? Really? It's just,
Welcome to 2020.
I mean, no matter what happens, you have 2020 to fall back on as an excuse. And, you got 2020 to, swing at you a few more times, it seems.
It's almost over. I say we get a redo on it. Dave, welcome to the show.
Guys, sorry I'm late.
Hey, Dave.
Hey,
How you doing?
so I missed that. What's the problem?
Oh, no, just fires, stuff like that. But I mean, it's like, it's everything, whether if it's not the comic books not coming in a decent condition or at all or on time, then it's COVID. And if it's not COVID, it's a fire. And if it's not the fire, it's the smoke from it. And it just feels like, what happened? What do we do?
I get it. I mean, I don't know if RJ told you guys, but UPS lost my package this week. So I did not have comics on time. I didn't get them until late afternoon on Thursday, which thankfully my customers, came out this weekend to get them. But, on a weekend when Rise of Ultraman comes out, this is when UPS wants to fuck me over. I'm like, oh.
Well, do you have a lot of people coming in for that one?
Yeah, I'm doing. It's so funny because I literally said I don't know. I want to see how you guys are doing, but I'm doing extremely well with Rise of Ultraman. Except RJ
sold all but one, so I'm doing okay.
Yeah. I've sold probably. I brought in 50, and I've sold at least 25 of those, not more.
All right.
So, yeah. But RJ did not buy one, so RJ.
I'll probably kick myself for that.
You might.
Believe me, I got plenty. This is the first time I have ever bought 50 of any comic book since I've been open.
You wanted that you got that variant cover?
Yeah, all of them. I mean, they're great, and I got the one in 25 and the one in 50, and today I sold the one in 25 variant. Yeah. It's bizarre because I'm such a kaiju fan. I grew up on Ultraman. That's how old I am. Back when he first started. We play Ultraman in the shop. Yes, exactly. Thank you, RJ. Everybody do that right now.
Yeah. I was wondering why he didn't.
I used to.
Play the game. And if we saw a picture of Perch ever, he would do that too. So Perch, I hope you're doing that. But yeah, I grew up in the whole era of the kaiju, and I love it. We're a big Godzilla shop. We're a big Ultraman shop. I'm now getting ready to do business with a company out of Japan where I can have all that stuff imported into me because your typical Diamond or Entertainment Earth doesn't touch what I want to start getting in. So I made that comment that I don't know how Yule's doing or Michael's doing on it, but here in the Midwest, at Kaiju Central, we're doing great, And I'm excited about that comic. I haven't been excited about a Marvel anything in a long time. Now, that being said, I haven't had a chance to read it because I just literally got it in 2 days ago. So,
It makes it hard when you're up against an FOC and you have to, you have to order number 2. And you're like, finalize it, and you haven't really had a full 3 days or 4 days or however open you are until make the adjustments.
Kept the high order of number 2 because it was on final cutoff. And this time they're not offering a 1 in 50; they're doing a 1 in 25 and a 1 in 100. So I can only get the 1 in 25 because as much as I love Ultraman, I'm not going to go ahead and jump up to 100. So yeah, it's just like, and here with the Web of Venom race.
Yep.
Hey, I think I've got 5 or 6 left on the shelf out of 12 that I brought in probably. So I sold half through. So So that didn't do what I thought it was going to do. But once again, I'm 2 days late on my shit because of UPS. So
You probably sold
how's
out.
it going for you guys?
Marvel didn't do you any favors there either. I mean, you had Donnie Cates on Twitter talking about how Wraith and Web of Venom was going to lead into King of Black, be a prequel. You really need to read it. And the comic was that. The comic was a prequel to King in Black. Nowhere on the cover do they label that. Nowhere does Marvel market that. Nothing.
Correct.
So, way to go. You know,
It's self-marketing.
thanks for helping.
Great. We thank Marvel very much for staying on top of that one. Right.
A gift every time, every month, a new gift.
Yeah, it is. Usually, I don't know how you guys are, but I usually finalize my final order or the beginning order, the pre-order. I mean, I usually finalize it a few days, if not the day of, because you just want to wait till the very end to make sure everything's going to be, right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's then that you get the new book in, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to do this all over again.
Oh, you're right. I mean, you asked me a couple of weeks ago, do I let my final cutoff go through, or do I adjust? If I'm getting some kind of feedback, then yes, I'll adjust accordingly. But a lot of times, like you're just saying, everything, and Michael, you know this, and Bert, you know this, it overlaps. So as you're getting one in, the number two is overlapping on it, and you're like, I'll leave it the same. Or if you're hearing a buzz in your ear, you're going to go, okay, I'm going to up it. And then you go, why did I fucking do that when they're not moving off the shelf,
So what do you do for something like 10 of Swords? All right. Let's say you've got
Pray.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say you got, just for easy numbers, you got 20 X-Men readers, and then your next, and your lowest selling X book is like Hellions, and it's 10. Okay, and maybe I should have used bigger numbers because that's when you really start to wonder how you're supposed to do it. But do you get another 10 Hellions and another 10 Wolverine and another 10, or do you go even higher, hoping it's going to be a big deal, and you just match everything at the same level?
And then you watch the momentum of something like Venom that just doesn't seem to fucking stop. And because Donny Cates, and then you're going, okay, everything that Donny Cates is up there. But is that the case in point just because it has Donny Cates' name on it, or are you being safe? Look, I got fucking Marvel Zombies. What the fuck? Every fucking cover I got in, numerous amounts of it, and I've got a stack of Marvel fucking Zombies now.
We're going to put an R rating on this one tonight.
What's that, RJ?
We're gonna
Dave's a little. Dave wants everybody to come on in and buy a Marvel Zombies, please.
Buy the fucking Marvel Zombies. Hey, if you guys need some, I'll ship them out to you.
Yeah, the been off the blues on the Marvel Weeping Zombies for quite a while there. That series hasn't sold in the longest time.
I was very conservative on my purchasing of it, and it did not meet those expectations.
Yeah, I wish I would have too.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. Is that is Marvel returnable? I don't know who said something about returnability.
Well, we talked about that before the show started, but that's the big news lately is that Boom Studios, Dynamite, IDW, they're all offering this returnability option now.
And it's helpful. Yeah, it helps. The challenge there, though, is that that's not where you're getting hurt. I mean, you're getting hurt with Marvel.
Marvel Zombies.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's not returnable. So it's good. I mean, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm glad these smaller guys, and it is a way that over time, I think they're going to build goodwill. They'll be able to compete. It's good. But when you're just looking at hard numbers and bills, it's like, that's nice. I've got Marvel Zombies over here. I'm about to dive head first into Ten of Swords. You just pray that by chapter 6, that isn't declared a stinker. With 20 more to go. I mean, one of the big things, I'm
my palms are sweating.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're playing a risky game, and it is, Marvel knows it. I'm still convinced, although I mean, I was jackass during one of the retailer summits at Ask Gabriel, like when you're shipping these events and you're shipping, every week, or you're shipping, you're accelerating the first 3 or 4 copies of this event. You're telling me you're doing that because you're wanting to jumpstart the event and get some momentum. Well, what you're doing to me as a retailer is you're forcing me to buy in 4 or 5 issues before I have any sales numbers on any of this stuff. So you're forcing me to commit. If issue number 1 comes out, it's a stinker, I've got a gift waiting for me of 3 more issues before I can start to correct, often more, plus all the tie-ins and everything else. I mean, and I'm half convinced it's a strategy, frankly, on their end to suck those orders out because they're not taking the risk.
Well, remember, you are their only customer.
Right.
The readers aren't their customers.
Yeah, whenever I see Marvel doing a solicitation like that, my immediate response is cut it. I mean, if they're going to force me to buy so much product, I don't know what it is. They're trying to shove something down, onto the marketplace that obviously they don't have any belief in themselves. And so just cut your orders, and almost invariably, I don't cut them enough. I remember when they had that holographic thing that said, okay, if you buy 200% of what you would normally order of the regular covers, then you're eligible to buy these other covers. I didn't order a single one of those. It's like, forget it. You're up to something. And it was one of the bigger bombs that's ever been. All the people who did, jump through the hoop to qualify, they all lost their shirt. And I was buying the books, from them to finally get some from my stores cheaper than what their cost was. And I didn't get stuck with any unsold inventory. I mean, it's just very adversarial as far as the marketing strategies of Marvel and DC, really. DC's not too bad. Marvel's the one that makes us do all these variants and different stuff like that. At least one thing I like about DC is, for the most part, you can order them, although they are now starting to have more incentive covers than they used to.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Well, I mean, it's just they are always just below Marvel, or sometimes way below Marvel in making money.
Well, right now,
and, Marvel just has no shame. And, like, DC at least will be like, well, we got to at least pretend it's an anniversary issue, So they wait 3 months. Marvel's like, I'm not going to wait 3 months. I'm going to put it out now, and I'm going to put out another one then.
And by the grace of God, 3 Jokers turned out to be a hit as of right now.
Did you hear there's a variant?
What's that?
Did you hear there's a variant for the second print of 3 Jokers #1?
Yeah.
Oh, of course there is.
And I'm a sucker, So, yeah. And RJ's not happy. He's not thrilled, So
I've got my copy, but my card didn't shake out here.
Yeah, you're not getting that card. Okay, it's not from me. Get it from you all. So,
yeah, you can get it from me. I got a ton of them. My readers
I
don't
was one
care
of those
about those
jackasses
cards.
that one of my guys came in. He goes, "Can I just get that whole pack from you?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, go for it, man." Here. The whole. I said they're all the same. He goes, "I don't care. It's yours."
Oh man, he's on eBay.
Yeah, they might be.
Wait, are those expensive now? Don't say they are.
No.
No.
I didn't see it on my key collector app.
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares about the fucking card. So, but yeah, it's hilarious. I'm just like, dude, I haven't even put these in the book yet. He's like, can I just get the whole set? Done.
No, I have some hope. I may be foolish. I've tried to love before and had the heart broken. I think that DC is going to improve their marketing. I do believe maybe they need to take many steps backward in other directions, but I do have the strong sense that come, toward the end of this year, spitting out a death metal, I think there's going to be a cleaner message out. Now,
did all you guys watch any of the DC fandom thing that went on?
Yep.
Yeah, I was very impressed from what I saw,
yep.
Of it. And I was like, good for you guys. You really stepped up the game, I thought, on a lot of the content on there. So,
they did. The second one it sounds like they made some definitive improvements over the first. I think this one there were some technical issues earlier on, but it did seem a lot smoother. Yeah. And I appreciated some of the straightforward stuff. I mean, maybe it was just me. I was loving Jim Lee coming out and being, where there's not going to be a 5G. Final word. There is no 5G. We're done. That was great. More of that.
Yeah, that's what we all want to hear anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perch, do you think that any of the stuff we've seen come out of DC, is it too soon for Daniel Cherry to be making a visible impact on the direction of the company yet?
Yeah, completely. I think some people were attaching that representation book that came out on digital this week as an initiative. I mean, not in 2 weeks. No. We'll see his impact in a month or a month and a half, maybe. And I think, frankly, I doubt any of the LCS guys. I doubt we'll see much of that impact for 6 months or more. I think the people are going to be seeing that impact are distribution chains out to China and in Europe, and he's all about, at least what he's saying is global growth. That's how he's being measured. How do you get the comics into other places? I think that's where you're going to see him. I don't think we're going to see much of him, good and bad, by the way.
Is this going to be like a situation where, like, you know how like Marvel's movies or Disney's movies change for China's whim, you know, and stuff like that? Are we going to see that with like DC's comics also, depending on like where they're trying to like market them?
I think you're not going to see like different versions, but I do think you're going to get some. My guess, and I don't think this is either good or bad. A lot of people are predicting the woke apocalypse or various things. I think the most likely thing you're going to get is a very corporate friendly book that's going to be homogenized to some extent, that can play well in Japan, can play well in Europe, can play well in the US. You're going to see that kind of clean storytelling in that sense, which I think will please some and be boring for others. But I think you're going to see a lot of, I mean, frankly, the Joker War and how it's currently going in many ways is a made to be collected and distributed around the globe kind of book. It's creating some new characters. It's pretty clean as a story, easy in, easy out. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. But we'll see.
Batman's drug trip.
Yep.
That's what I've been taking from it anyway. I've been reading through. I pick it up in stacks and chunks after, you know, Dave sits on it for a long enough time to wonder if I'm going to come in and get it or not. And then I can get it, and I sit down and read it in a burst, and I'm like, okay, Batman's still tripping on toxin. Okay.
Yeah, they keep going with that. No, it's. I don't know. I think Tamaki's Wonder Woman is interesting to look at because that also feels like kind of the direction DC wants to go. It's a relatively clean story. There's not. I mean, it's not like her She-Hulk and her Wolverine work. It's not great. I mean, I prefer the Perez and the Byrne. I mean, hell, some of the other versions we've had of Wonder Woman I think are much better, but this one feels like a. You know, you could not really know anything about Wonder Woman. You can pick it up. Here's a Wonder Woman story. There's some action, some talking, some more action, some more talking. And it's like that's, you know, stuff like Grant Morrison's Green Lantern. I think that stuff goes away completely. And I think you get more stories like this.
Yeah. Now, is that Wonder Woman the one where they separated Steve Trevor into Steve and Trevor? Or was that an imaginary story that was done somewhere else?
No, that was somewhere else, I think. I don't. Yeah, you'll just laugh.
I don't know that one at all.
No, they did a Wonder Woman story where it was, yeah, they did a Wonder Woman where it was the two guys crashed on Paradise Island and they were gay lovers. That were Steven.
No, they did not. They did that really?
When was this? I missed this completely.
Was this a backup story or something in an
80th? I will find this out.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Well, maybe for next time. I must know. This is a very interesting story all of a sudden.
Yeah, that
It sounds like Scuba Keeber or something like that. For those of you playing at home.
Like John Kilgallen, he's a huge Wonder Woman fan. John, if you're out there still watching us, do you remember that storyline?
I mean, it rings a vague bell. I'm wondering if this was this an Earth 1 or was this some other...
Maybe some strange dream also. I don't know.
Yeah, that does sound awful. But no, it's her story is like it's got Maxwell Lord in it. And of course it does because he's in the movie. And they've got a new villain and it's, you know, it's related to Maxwell Lord. And so they're doing some, you know, people fighting and Wonder Woman's got to tackle it. I mean,
doesn't Maxwell also go over in the Supergirl? I mean, like,
yeah, he was in Supergirl.
As well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very much a, you know, made for kind of a movie tie-in kind of book. benign, I think. And that's the future of DC is stuff like that. It's not, people are still going on about, well, you're going to get all the historical characters replaced with new diverse characters. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be safe. Oh, good Lord. This just looks awful.
Steve Trevor's a QPOC couple in Wonder Woman Tempest Tossed.
Oh, this is the young adult thing. Yeah. This
Oh.
Yeah.
So here's Steve saying, my husband Trevor and I work for the United Nations.
Yeah. Well, that comic is just a mess in general, but
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I don't like their young adult ones.
Yeah,
They don't sell.
they have all but failed outside of Far Sector. Far Sector is the only young adult one that I sell well on.
Wait, Far Sector counts as a young adult one?
it does.
Well, it's kind of geared toward that, isn't it? What's the line that DC? And I'm
It's a little thanky for a kid, I thought, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I mean, I
Sector
thought Far
doesn't
Sector is
sell
geared toward young teens.
Okay.
No, I mean,
Right.
DC desperately wants to get that YA mark, and you understand why. I mean, Dogman is out this week as the #1 book. Forget graphic novels or comics. The #1 book. It's the highest selling thing of all the books. And Dab Pilkey's just kind of laughing his way to the bank through this entire business. I mean, 5 million initial print run.
Yeah.
That was the last one too. The last volume, I think, was #1 overall all books for a month. This one's probably going to do the same thing. That's playing in a completely different orbit than comics today. So yeah, I mean, of course, DC's got to be looking at this and going, Scholastic is capturing the up and coming market entirely. If they put a little bit of effort into kind of growing with the audience, they're just going to keep these people as they grow, and we're going to get none of it.
So wait, there's going to be like 19-year-olds 10 years from now reading a more gritty Dogman.
That's right. Yeah. No.
I'm ready for that already. Just to let you know.
Dogman, huh? Edited by Steve Didio.
I love there was some interview where they were going and there's this joke gets thrown out of dog lives matter, and it's like you could see the interviewers like quickly like shut the hell up, don't go down that path. But it is that book and that franchise is just a complete and absolute beast, and I think there is as Scholastic is rapidly trying to buy up other properties and kind of grow. I mean, Marvel and DC have to be looking at that as a mega threat to them.
Raina Telgemeier is another example. I mean, her stuff, it's graphic novels that she puts out, and they're good. They're engaging. They pull you in.
Yeah, that it fits the market. They understand it, and so when you look at these DC YA efforts, I mean, they don't get it. They're not landing.
No.
And
you look at it, they're not going to.
They need to keep trying. They have to keep trying, but they have to do some different things because their efforts they're just letting Scholastic completely. And then Marvel's not even playing. I mean, it's.
Well, DC has some Scholastic books also. There's the Dustin Nguyen Secret Society, and I guess that's about it. Let's do
not a graphic novel though, but it's a great YA series.
I've been trying to write for years saying, quit ignoring the kid market, and they always kept trying to say, "Oh, kids don't want comics anymore." Like, yeah, they do. I remember I used to do a annual talk when they had the summer university Lorette for youth in locally, and I was always one of their speakers, and I was always like the first class that would always get booked up, and and I was the only speaker they ever had in Blackboard 2 times, and they had me out there every year, and I mean the kids would swarm it. They loved the comics, and I was listening to them. I was learning as much as I was teaching because I was like, well, what are they liking? And when the manga got hot, I was on the front end of that curve. When the manga went away, that's because, I went to the bookstores. But so I've been trying to say, guys, you got to keep selling these comics. And in one of my market reports, I talked about the formula. And there is a formula for comics. And I'm swiping this formula from BBC America, where they did a special on the first year of making Doctor Who, where the director of the programming tells the woman who was producing Doctor Who, the formula for kids programming, and this holds true for comics, is what you got to do is you got to dumb it down enough where you don't confuse the adults, but keep it complicated enough to keep the kids interested. Here in America, we do the exact opposite. We give the complicated stuff to the adults, and we give the kids the stuff that's dumbed down. The kids don't want to read it, and they say, "Oh, well, kids don't like comics anymore." Not those comics, because you're talking down to them, and they know when they're being talked down to. And same thing with like the DC stuff. It's like they're trying to play a political message, and just you're almost like they're preaching to kids, and they're not connecting. They're not telling good, fun stories, and that's what you got to do. Give them something that they can, basically they'll read the same thing that the adults are reading. You just got to watch it with the violence, the nudity, and the language.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And I think you overcomplicate things. And I've heard many people within the industry, within Marvel and DC, look at stuff like Raina Telgemeier or Dogman or the Babysitter Club one and go, this isn't even a real comic, especially Dogman, Captain Underpants. Look, the quality's so low. The stuff that is so roughly drawn. Like, that's not a real comic. It's like, I mean, okay, you're right. It's not one of your comics because it's selling 5 million copies. Well,
yeah. Go tell Matt Diesel what a well-drawn comic looks like.
Yeah, exactly. There's all. Please.
Exactly.
And not only that, but I mean that just discounts like all underground and even more, adult material that's out there that isn't necessarily like mainstream superhero art and stuff like that.
When I started this industry back in the 80s, every single book made was aimed at all ages. I didn't have a single book in my store that wasn't appropriate for anybody. I had to worry about kids coming in. Well, then they realized that they were ignoring the older reader market with the Dark Knight Returns and the Watchmen, and the pendulum just completely swung. So, okay, let's just make everything for the older reader market now. And they completely abandoned the kid market, and that's where the growth comes from. And that's why the industry's been shrinking and stagnating for so long, is because if you're not going to develop your new readers, you're not going to have readers.
Yep, I agree.
Today, we're in a world, and we've all talked about this in the past. It's so funny because you guys get young adult readers, and I get very little adult readers in my shop. Unless, it's like I said, Ultraman or guys that look at their Titans fans. But other than that, I mean, I do the majority of my business is on the Red Sonja, the Vampirella,
you're the store.
That kind of stuff is doing well for me. It's more adult oriented, and that's who most of my clientele is. So, look, the youth of today really is a cell phone, video game driven society with very little, and every once in a while you'll get a handful of kids who come in and go, you got something geared towards me, or the mom will say, I want to get something into something. What do you got? And I go, well, how old is he? Well, he's like 7 or 8 or 9. Okay, try Marvel Action Spider-Man or any of those books. Wet his whistle and see what happens there. Because even if you read a Captain America today or the Avengers, it's got a lot of adult themes to it. So, and the violence.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I think it's you got to have that balance, and I mean, the key comes down to it's actually not as complicated as I think a lot of these companies make it out to be. It's hire people who know how to write for the audience you're chasing, higher quality, put them to work, get quality out the other end. Don't try and retrofit somebody who has no experience writing for a market into the market you want to capture, and life will be okay. But I think supposedly in the next 2 weeks or so, there's going to be some level of announcement of a partnership with Scholastic and Shonen Jump. And I think if they also start to funnel in manga into the U.S. through that channel, I mean, I did this post on Twitter. Already going to Barnes & Noble, and the comics and graphic novels section is shrinking. Now, Barnes & Noble itself is shrinking, but anyway, that section's shrinking down. Manga's exploding. What I didn't have in those pictures is the Scholastic section of the YA stuff, which is almost equivalent to manga in terms of the amount that's there. You start to blend those two together, I mean, you're screwed. If you're a traditional U.S. comic publisher, you are totally screwed.
No, there's one thing that both manga and the Scholastic have in common: no superheroes.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Dogman.
You got. Well, it's just a change. It's a definition changes, right? I mean, My Hero Academia is definitely a superhero book, but it's written in a different way, And
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and that's where I think if he does his job correctly, and I don't know if he will or not, but if Daniel Cherry is looking at how to kind of tweak some of this stuff around to reach a global market, I think you're going to see you're going to see a Titans book that will feel a lot more like My Hero Academia than maybe the the previous Titans. And as a guy who loved the George Perez run on that, it's gonna be sad for me, but I get why they do it. So
Well, see, my point is that Marvel and DC focus on one type of reader. Period. That's it.
You're right. Yeah. No, you're right. They've got the one thing.
Right.
And
they're a one-trick pony.
Yep, one-trick pony.
Well, we were talking before we got into the live stream here about crazy things happening this week, and I told Purchase I'm glad you've been keeping on top of it because I only had a few talking points to bring up. And we're 35 minutes into the show now, so now would be a good time for me to say, Perch, what went crazy this week we haven't talked about yet?
No, I mean, well, the announcements, we did get the 5G announced. We got Bendis is off of Superman and Action Comics. That was that was a lot of news there. I think
it's hard not to be slightly happy.
Yeah, you just hope, now comes the, okay, what comes next? And it's like Tomasi is coming back on. Hey, we pay him less and people seem to like him and he can do kind of this iconic run like Tinian. Great. That'd be a great answer. A different answer is, hey, we're going to have, maybe Mark Waid come in to do 6 months. And then, by the way, Bendis is going over to Justice League. And it's like, we haven't heard the second half of the story yet. So
Mark Waid is coming back.
He's coming back to do a short story. We'll see. It's very possible he winds up on that book, but I think too many people are almost expecting bad news, I think, and they're expecting that it's going to go a certain way. I think DC is going to look at things without a political lens, and I know people disagree with me heavily on that, but I think they're going to be looking more in times of what can I easily sell.
Yeah, and I think DC's going to be more economically driven now.
Oh yeah,
dude, they are not using a scalpel at DC at all. No. I don't think it's a big cleaver.
Yeah. I mean, getting Bendis off of Superman. Oh my God! Thank God. Bendis's idea of compressed storytelling is how many words can I cram into this panel?
Yeah, that's the compression.
So I was thinking about a book that I would actually like to see Brian Michael Bendis on. And with Grant Morrison leaving Green Lantern and Perch saying that they want to have a little bit more digestible stories, trade collecting, I think the comp aspect, and then he could have, his like little crazy things that he does. I actually think Green Lantern would not be bad for Bendis. Just throwing it out there.
Of the major characters, I'm with you. I think that probably fits him best. Of the major kind of, if you think about the Justice League characters, I think people talk about Batman, but I think Tinian's got Batman under control. Just leave that alone. I think Green Lantern is probably the one that fits him the most.
Yeah, you could be street level in space, and then, you don't really have to... What was that, RJ?
That's why I'd like to see Brubaker on something like Green Lantern.
Brubaker's not going to work for those guys anymore, I don't think.
Oh,
no. Not unless he, has a soft spot for something.
When it comes down to Green Lantern, I want my Green Lantern to be gritty. I enjoyed the second season of the Green Lantern. I guess apparently we're going to wrap it up and get it done. I enjoyed it. My Green Lantern has to stay gritty and not so comedic. So let's see what goes on with it. I'm heartbroken that Hawkman is over. I thought the storylines were great in Hawkman. I kind of compare those guys because they're part of the CSA anyway. But,
they're fake cops.
Yeah. So I compare them there. As much as I love like a Jeff Johns, I can't see him trying to do a Green Lantern or anything. So let's keep him out of it. He does well with what he's done in the past with the JSA and the Stargirl. It's brilliant. Obviously, the TV show is brilliant. So as long as we take that creative control going, Green Lantern, I kind of like Morrison on it. So I'm one of those weirdos, I like what they
doing. I'm a Morrison guy on that one, 100%. But it's happening that it's going to end. So
right.
this would be I just think that might be the person that would. I don't know. I think that I don't know. I think that Bendis might be. When you're not expecting a whole lot from him, is when he delivers a little bit more.
It's a character you don't want to fuck with, though. You do not want to fuck that one up. We're talking about the lane stuff. Guys, I'm wearing here. That's my daily rate.
There you go.
Every day, proudly. So, yeah, that's my boy.
The challenge you have with Bendis is just he's expensive, and they're not going to put him on an ongoing that isn't pulling 100,000 plus copies in the future. I don't know if you can get Green Lantern there. You could, but not quickly. It would take a while, and I don't think DC has the patience to have a Bendis doing that. I think they will. If they're going to use Bendis, I think it's going to be event comics. It's going to be limited series. It's going to be black label stuff like Three Jokers. I think that's the future of Bendis at DC.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing a black label Green Lantern. I mean, I want it gritty, so that's what you're going to get that at. With a black label Green Lantern DC special.
And Bendis is already doing Green Lantern without touching it.
With the Legion. Is that I have not been reading that. I can't.
I wasn't taking Legion, but yeah, the Gold Lantern thing that he introduced there, and then a Team Lantern that he put into the Young Justice.
Yeah. The challenge you have is that it's not good is one problem, but it just Bendis. He's a rock and a hard place. Bendis likes to be in control of the continuity and where things are going and dictate a little bit how the line's going to be run. DC, on the other hand, is not going to want to pay somebody that kind of money to do an ongoing book that's not making 100,000 copies. Those two aren't compatible. So I think if DC's like, you're going to do some special projects with us, I think Bendis might comply, but he's not going to like it. And his other factor is he liked being a kingmaker. He liked bringing friends in and kind of developing this little umbrella. And I don't think he has that influence anymore at all with the way things have shaken out. So I don't think Bendis lasts at DC very long under this model. It doesn't fit either party at this point.
So, I don't know. I was not privy for, to how long he was signed or anything like that. But would that be like DC eating the contract, or
I think
nearing its end?
I think it's probably nearing its end, or at least we got your early. I haven't seen the contract either, so I'm completely speculating. But I would say there's probably some. We're probably hitting on a renewal clause that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now suddenly I'll get real dodgy about what I'm saying.
I like a renewal idea. It just ain't doing so good. I think we're gonna pass. Here's your little buyout right here.
I'll tell you what, the thing about Bendis' run on Action Comics hasn't even been the writing for me, but it's just that it's been so boring for me, and I think that it's boring John Romita Jr. as well, because literally the artwork being turned in from JR of all people on Action Comics, it looks like he gets the roughs down. He says, fuck it, I'll link it from here and turn it in.
Yeah. No, he does seem uninspired. And I mean, Romita, it's a shame because people coming into comics the last couple of years, I think have a real negative impression of him. But I mean, he did the Mutant Massacre books over in Uncanny X-Men are brilliant. I mean, some of that stuff I absolutely love. So he can do much better work. But kind of in the background, it was announced he's got a project with Mark Millar coming up that is going to be a big one, that they're going to try and have the same kind of impact as Kick-Ass sometime in, I think, 2021 or late 2021. So my suspicion is Romita Jr. is just his head's there. That's what's going to make him $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, I will. Also, talking about hyped up projects with big names attached, you're talking about Donny Cates and how his name sells on books. He's got that big crossover coming out with Image now called Crossovers.
Yep.
What's the now, Michael? I don't know how you get feedback from your buyers now because they don't come in the store and just shoot the bull with you anymore.
Oh, they'll email me, they'll call me, let me know what they're liking, and I have had some interest in that one.
Okay, so what's everybody else's word on the street with the Crossovers series from Cates from Image?
I'm okay with this. I think Donnie. Let's be real. This can only be so it can only last so long. This book, hell, Donny Cates being popular this way can only last so long. I would be surprised if this was something like his Thor or the Thanos stuff that he did that has the characters that that are increasing in price as a result. Maybe like the first issue, there'll be some speculation, and I know there's going to be a bunch of covers, so that might be a reason why sales go up or why certain ones are worth more money after the fact. But I think this will just be a really fun series to read, and if you can get, just if you could get, like half of your Thor readers to read this, I think you'll be pretty happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm with you. What's interesting, Dave, you brought it up because I'm curious. So Donny Cates has a reputation of selling a lot, and he does. But at the same time, that Wraith book came out. That's a Donny Cates book. It wasn't marketed well, and it was. I mean, I heard from many other retailers. I want to say it was a dud, but it didn't move. And so I think there's an aspect to this that says, it's not. He can't just sell just on his name alone. I mean, there's got to be a little bit more. You've got to do a little bit of marketing. So I'm curious with crossover, have they reached the right people? It's certainly going to get some attention, but is it going to get Saga numbers? I'm not sure.
Exactly. Is it going to get the Venom numbers or the Thor numbers? And it's funny because RJ, you came into the shop today and you brought it up, and you were the first and only person who brought up that crossover series. So,
yeah,
my neck of the woods, nobody's talking about it as of yet because either A, they haven't heard about it yet because, like First said, they're not doing a lot of advertising on it, or B, that nobody cares because it's not Thor or it's not Venom. It's not the standard mainstream character. I don't know. I think it's still too early to judge on this. I don't think the momentum is built up on it. So we'll see.
What do you think? So Scott Snyder had Undiscovered Country, and that was similar. A lot of big hype around it. It's going to be really big name creators. You recognize them. It sold well. I mean, it sold okay. At the beginning, but that comic's not burning down the shelves now. It's not.
Well, it had a bit of the COVID interruption also.
Yeah,
it did.
I mean, I know I didn't check it out because I just didn't care.
Yeah.
My brother thought it was good.
I mean, it's a fine enough book. It just, I think that I suspect that crossover, when all is said and done, is going to look a lot like that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you.
I don't think it's Image's next Saga. I think Saga is still going to be Saga, and it's at a whole other level.
So, okay, and RJ, you and I talked about this briefly, real quick, and let's see how everybody else is doing. Something's killing the children.
Yeah.
Have you all seen an uptick in sales?
Definitely. I don't have an active store, but all the people I'm working with right now have.
Okay, you all.
I'm when it comes to other companies, I'm pretty tight with my ordering. I do very well on that though. So let's just say that.
Michael?
Yeah.
I sold a few copies. I've got a solid, reliable fan base on that one.
Yeah, that one, that was a sleeper. It came out, number one did real well, then it kind of leveled itself out on the second and third, and then now that they made the announcement of the Netflix series or that he's getting ready to sell that, I had a guy came in and was like, almost bought every fucking issue I had. I mean,
did you jack those prices up?
No, don't do that.
Oh man!
No, I don't do that. You all
at all? Never, ever?
Never.
7 months ago.
no.
When you say he bought every issue,
Come on. It's cover
when you,
price.
when you say he bought every issue, Dave, do you mean he bought all, a number 1, a number 2, a number 3?
No,
Or
I sold out of one, but he bought 2, 3, 4, all the way up to where it's at. He bought with all the run he could get. So I went from a stack this thick on my shelf down to that now. All in one
those
spot.
boom books are big.
Yeah, all because of this announcement. And look, that's what we want, right? But
Yep.
unfortunately, you know, it's one of those things when everybody's like, can you get number one? I'm like, not on your life. Can I get number one?
Not without not jacking it up.
You kill me, man. You kill me.
Well, I mean, that's what eBay's for, is what I mean.
Exactly. I
You
cannot
can't.
go to Diamond and get a number one.
I will not let you spend extra money for this copy here in the store, but you can go to my eBay store and bid on it.
Go for it. Knock yourself out. Right. Oh, God.
All right, so we talked about returnability earlier on here because this is something that, you know, a lot of the publishers are trying to get back to, at least for a while. And what I have the question is, as a retailer, how do you decide, I have these books left over, how do you decide I'm going to return them or I'm going to risk putting them into inventory?
I never mess with it. I never order extra thinking, oh, I might be able to get some of my money back later if I order more than what I think I can sell it. I just ignore returnability. It's hard to get your money back out of Diamond. They have amazing poor service. I mean, I've got some returns I sent to them recently. I still haven't got all my return credited yet. And, you know, I mean, it's way past due. And, you know, it's like pulling teeth to get your actual money back. You know, you have to send the books back. You don't get the full amount. I just order what I think I can sell. And, you know, I'll leave it there. That will not influence me to order one extra book.
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. Well, that's. I don't know if that's totally true. Let's say they like I know it's helped Dynamite out a lot. They have returnability, and they also say, and I don't know why it helps them out, but I mean, they feel like it helps them out. So, like, you could get 1 in 10 variants, 1 in 25 variants, 1 in 50 variants. If you know you can buy 50 comics and return them so that you could do this all over again, if you're willing to do it, I guess that, you know, if you could just sell that one variant, right? I guess maybe that's the reasoning behind it.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, but at the same time, where I take advantage on that is not like on a Red Sonja or a Vampirella, because I have no problem ever moving that stuff, and I ordered just the right amount. What I always have a tendency to order on are like black label Harley Quinn or Joker and Harley Quinn crap, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on a stack that thick, and if I can whittle it down and keep 1 or 2 of those, I'll do that. Because
one thing I've noticed that when you get extra copies, like sometimes people just automatically will give you some extra copies you don't want. If you figure out what your audience is, you go, okay, I know I'm going to sell, say, 10 copies of that. You put 11 copies on that shelf, all of a sudden you're only selling 8 or maybe even 7.
yeah,
You know, so there's a psychological barrier, and all of a sudden they see those extra copies. People are like, oh, I want to be there next time, and there is no next time. And
Yeah, there's like,
That's very true.
I'm big on the up and down of comics every 5. It doesn't make it look as thick.
Yeah. I mean, if you put like, you know, 50 copies of something on the shelf, there is the potential for the reader to walk by and say, wow, they got a lot of these. It must not be selling.
It might also be, oh my
Or
God, this is
coming
the
next year.
biggest book I've ever seen in my life. I have to get it, you know. So
Yeah.
It happens, but I
selling it too as a shop owner. You know, you got to sit there and go, oh, this is really good, but he's read it or not.
Now, were any of you guys around the not comic, but the trading card, the sports card industry came after the comic industry?
Mhm.
Well, that was back in the 90s, and that's when the card industry just collapsed. And all the card stores around me, there used to be like about a dozen of them, they all decided they were going to become comic book stores overnight, and they painted a target on my back. And they were doing dirty tricks. I mean, they were doing Sherman antitrust laws. I mean, they would say, okay, this one title this week comes out this week, we're all going to mark it up to $20. So what they would do is, and they would take turns doing this, and never identified themselves to me. But you know, one of them would come in one week and they'd buy that one title out of off my shelves. That only worked the first week. So the next week when they buy every copy off the shelf, I put another stack out after they leave. And then people are coming in going, hey, why you got this book for cover price? We're down the street, it's $20. Hey, you have to ask them. So, you know, there's
because they're a crook. That's why.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
They all went out of business.
You see where John Kilgallen says that something that's killing the children #1 is pulling over $100
boom.
better on eBay right now.
It was doing pretty good before.
it wasn't
I
too
guess
bad,
this
but now
announcement.
Yeah, the announcement really kicked it up a
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you all, quickly before I leave, because you guys are cutting into my drinking time. And then everybody got a one in. Everybody got a Batman 89, one per store.
Wait, 89 or 92?
92.
92.
The black and white punchline.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody got one. What you guys
Oh,
do
yeah.
with yours?
It's sitting about 20 feet.
Sold it.
Okay, all right, come on, play the game, you all.
I sold it.
Okay, and you got what for it?
Well, I gave a discount, so I took the highest price that was on eBay that day, and I lowered it a little bit. It's like $300.
First, same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sitting here, so zero.
Well, I have a customer that really wants this kind of stuff, so I had to like make a decision, and that's what I decided.
Well, Michael, what about you?
I want to set that one back. I think that's a book that has good appreciation.
Okay, so I put mine on eBay, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to give you guys a bitch story right now.
Oh no!
Put mine on eBay. So it's closed up on a 5-day auction at $335.
Wow.
Son of a bitch never paid for it. And open a case. So guess what? Now I take a big cut because they're dropping down and leveling out. So I'll probably get, if I'm lucky, 180 out of it.
That guy cost you some money.
Yeah, are you kidding? I'm going to New York and I'm going to kick Jorge and his nutsack. So anywho,
I'll talk over you to protect you.
Talk about the
I love you
sins of-
guys, and everybody. If you look down here at your at the comments, Tatsunami says that we're boring. So Tatsunami, kiss our fucking collective asses. There you go.
You gotta get more
Great
excited.
show. I love all you guys. Good night.
Good
Hey,
night.
speaking of sins of eBay sellers,
God.
take care.
Oh, boring.
Speaking
Oh,
of,
well.
speaking of the sins of the eBay buyers, a little dirty trick I've been noticing, this has happened to me multiple times, where some guy says, I'll take all your copies of all your high dollar book. Then they'll pick out the one they want and want to send all the others back and make up some excuse. Oh, well, I was damaged or something like that. Usually they come back, in perfect shape where you can go ahead and resell them, but, that you're out all that money, all that shipping, all the fees on an auction. But then the other thing I had one just this week where the guy just took his book, just went ding on the corner. Okay, now I want this one, my money back on that one, and devalued the book. So one of the things I will no longer do anytime I have a high dollar book like that, I'm only going to list them one at a time. I will not offer multiple copies ever again because it's happened to me systematically a whole bunch of times. It never happens on the low dollar stuff, but it happens on the high dollar stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's a trick that the buyers are doing this. Okay, I'm going to take all your copies. I'll go through, pick the one I think will get the highest grade on CGC, and I'll send the rest back. So
It's crazy business.
Yeah, it is.
So here's some Twitter story sharing, and this might be apocryphal. It might just be something that somebody was trying to tell a story of, but get your opinions on this if it happened in your store. Apparently, a guy was wanting to buy or was buying a book, bought a stack of books up to the counter, and the clerk took one of the books out of the stack, put it back on the shelf, said, "I did you a favor," because he thought it was really
Yeah,
bad.
that's dick behavior.
You don't do that.
Well, I mean, if you have that, if you have that kind of relationship with the person, and I mean, I would assume you'd put a little bit of reasoning behind it also. But, I mean, it doesn't, I mean, other than that, I mean, that's the only instance I could see where that'd be an okay situation. But it's got Superman in it. You hate Superman. You don't want to read this.
You have a relationship with the shop owner where you say, hey, look out for me. And if you know I'm not going to like something, give me a heads up. Absolutely. But
Yeah.
I know some shops like that of like, yeah, I won't sell you that comic. First of all, you dumb idiot, you bought this to go into your shop. So why are you bringing it in the first place? What are you doing? And then just let people buy what they want. Good God, why are you making it hard for yourself?
Yeah, the job of the retailer is to give the customer what he wants, to find the book he wants. And it's not about judging what he likes or telling him what he should like. That's just the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, that's the most asinine behavior. And you hear those stories, and where I hear the stories is a customer coming in to open up a box with me because they're tired of dealing with that jackass in the other store, and I'm happy to take their money.
Sure thing.
Welcome to the new shop. Yes.
Speaking of the new shop, you got any kind of a date in mind, Perch, for when you're gonna become a store?
Next year? Yeah, probably.
Next year.
Next year. Wow.
Wouldn't do
Is
this
it
year.
when
No.
will like people be able to like hang out, more than 14 at a time, or after that?
I mean, I think I mentioned this last time. My shop is predicated on the idea that I'm going to have some art classes and things going in the shop. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole business model doesn't really work out otherwise, or just I need to expect to lose money. But it's like, I don't know. I've got now 2 storage lockers full of comics, so the money's going out.
All right, that's cool. You've already you have a list of everything that you purchased.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all there, all alphabetized already and everything.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Well, right now, so many stores failing around the country. It's a good time to do the investment because you get
I've been trying.
Yeah. All right.
We'll see how it works out.
Yeah,
It'll be
I
interesting
hope
to
it
see the
does.
numbers. Is it ICV2 that will put out those numbers of stores that have closed and stores that are open? I mean, where do you go to find out, how many stores are actually in existence at any time?
I don't think anybody's going to have this anymore. I mean, too many stores, the ones that remain open, I think there's going to be a lot of diversification. It's going to be tougher to count who's doing what. I think it's going to become very difficult to tell exactly what's in operation now.
And if Scholastic stuff is like the big deal going forward, let's say, who cares about DC or Marvel or whoever? If we're talking about what people want to buy, what sells in the future, if that should be the thing, if it would be, if it's My Hero Academia or One Piece or whatever the manga is of that day, there's a lot less room for me to care about Ten of Swords and there are 30 crossovers,
Yeah.
I mean,
targeted at one customer. Yeah.
it's just,
It changes the model, and it's why am I focused so much on making sure that the shop can offer art classes for kids and young adults? Yeah, I mean, I'll give you one guess. It's not because of the
diversify.
sword
Marvel
power.
TV have done the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
So how did Empire do for you guys?
I kept it tight, like I'm doing almost everything these days, and it went very well for me. Thank you very much.
Very,
But
very
the
low
thing
cost.
is that I'm keeping it tight, and the problem is that the way you make money is getting that extra book, and building a newer customer than what you thought. I'm being very cautious these days, more than I've ever been. And, I don't know when someone's just like, I just don't want to leave the house. And like I said, COVID and books and fires and smoke. And it's just like already there's always something. And, I'm in a very good situation, but even still, it's tenuous. It's always tenuous right now. And I can't make the extra. I am not in a position where I'm buying a ton of stuff. I'm just trying to get the store going. I'm not going to buy a bunch of stuff that's new unless I have the full, belief that I'm going to sell everything.
Well, then
And it's all sell through.
Back out too. I mean, they're still resoliciting now for stuff that was solicited back in February.
Right.
Talk about dragging your heels to get back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, you make money on risk in a lot of cases, and nobody's in the position to take a lot of risk. And so it's the goal right now is sustain, not profit. Well, I mean profit, but sustain, not get rich. And that getting rich in comics is always kind of a joke anyway. So it's like, we're not in the best of spots. I think that everybody has to look about how they get new customers in the door, what it's going to take, who you got to know cozy up to, and like Yul said, I mean, if Scholastic is going to start really making a run for it and selling books and getting this channel. Yeah, I mean, I could see a world 3-4 years from now where Diamond is a very small concern of mine, and I've got much different people to serve.
It would take like 2, maybe 3 of the small companies to go to Lunar, or just Marvel or Image, and I wouldn't need Diamond ever again, probably.
Yep.
I mean, if Marvel went over to Lunar,
Well, it'd be over.
It would. Unfortunately, I wouldn't care about Diamond. I mean, Boom's great, but I'll figure a way to get those in and trade instead. You know.
Yep.
Now, I had heard that somebody else was going to go to Lunar other than DC. Has that happened and I missed it?
Not yet.
Not yet. People keep saying, people keep saying it, but and they continue to talk about how there's a lot of conversations being had and other things going on. But it feels like there's people are holding their breath for another month or two. I expect there to be a big kind of toppling of news in November. It feels like you're going to have a lot of people thinking about the next year. They're going to be kind of gearing up 2021. I think November, it's going to be kind of a medium kind of this month, October, a little bit of rumbling. And I think November is going to be some huge things that are going to happen. I think we're going to hear about some layoffs from Marvel. I think we're going to see some of these smaller companies tip. I think that's the month where it's going to get pretty crazy.
Yeah. And if Diamond's still not paying, I mean, I don't know if they are caught up or not, but if they're still in their restructured deal with these companies and those companies are, having problems possibly, this is like a house of cards, right?
Mm-hmm. Traffic, you talk about house of cards. I watched my traffic at my stores just completely crash, whereas my online sales exploded.
Yeah.
And we were thinking I'm selling online that before this pandemic, I couldn't sell it to save my life. And then all of a sudden, I've sold thousands of dollars worth of it. It's crazy how much the marketplace has shifted to an online thing. I mean, it wasn't there before. People want to come in and see it. And there's still a certain element of people who will always want to do that. But the number of people who decided to do their shopping remotely has just increased exponentially here in recent months.
Well, it's because of things like that gives me hope to do something a little smaller of a scale that like Perch is doing, Right. I can buy someone's collection, maybe a few people's collection,
That's what you keep it on small. So I was too large. I had 2 stores with a combined 5,500 square footage. I was a lot of rent to pay. You need to sell a lot of merchandise. And when the traffic went away, I couldn't pay for it all. And I just had downsized to being a mail order.
Now, do you think, is it possible to be a store that just sells back issues anymore? Not even rely on new material?
Well, I think personally, I think it's easier to sell it only back issues than only new stuff.
I think a back issue only would do real well online. That was the problem I was having. I was actually, there was a month I had nothing but back issue because Marvel DC made nothing, almost for like 2 months because Diamond shut down. And I was doing fine, but my traffic count just started going down, kept going down. And where my online sales of those back issues kept going up. So, yeah, you can do it on the back issues, but I don't know if you're going to do it with a retail store.
Mm-hmm. But no, you go ahead.
No, it just gets tough. And I think that the other problem is you think that with back issues, I think that you're going to have a couple winners in the country. You're not going to have, there's no need to have. If you get a couple people who are really organized, who can kind of juggle some of this stuff, I mean, as things filter out over the next decade, you're not going to need 100 shops all selling online. You're going to need 10. And that's going to be an interesting traction as well.
Well, I'll agree and disagree with that. I'll agree with that as far as new comics subscriptions. Yeah, that's probably what will happen. As far as old comics, well, it depends on who's got the books.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think that's why maybe 10 years is too aggressive. But I think over time, things just start to consolidate and the money just squeezes.
Sure.
But I mean, if you look at some of these guys, they run out of inventory. And, if you've got stuff that nobody else has, you're always going to do well.
That's true.
But then, you're like holding on to it forever and then you close up and then then Perch buys my stuff up, then Perch buys your stuff,
You know what's amazing to me is because I'm selling online now, there are things I couldn't sell for like $7. I'd have it in my store forever. Put it online, I'm getting $50 for it. I mean, it's, things that I had a little Strangers in Paradise bus sitting around my store. Ordered for a customer. He stiffed me on it. I was like a $20 item. Had it marked all the way down to $7. Nobody would touch it. Put it online, got $35. It's just crazy how different the market is when you get outside your own little area.
It's right. Yeah, that's right. It's so true. And then you find out what really is important to people at the time. It's not in guide. It's not because someone says something. It's like it's that buzz, that's out there, and you just can't find it anymore. It's pretty cool hunting.
that's an interesting thing you brought up there. The fact, that eBay sets prices that are you don't expect, and it's not in the guide. How useful is the guide anymore? With eBay being a thing.
I think it's even more so with when you get things slabbed for CGC and you're part of the, you pay for the program so you can see what all the prices of things that it's sold go for. I find that a lot of people, when you go to like conventions, they're giving you prices as if the comic books are actually CGC slabbed.
Yeah.
And so you're only going like, I went up to this one guy and he's got Wonder Woman's from, first volume in like the 300s. And or 290 something, some Frank Miller covers, and they're pretty choice comics, and he wanted like $20 each for them. I'm like, that's a $5 comic book in the guide, maybe 10 at best. And so guide is guide. If you're in an area and something was shorted, pay attention. Thor #7, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay an extreme price if you get it from somewhere else. If you don't have a pull.
Yeah, the guide is exactly that, a guide, and things change. I mean, something gets hot when the guide's no longer accurate. There's other stuff that the price hasn't changed on in a decade or two, and it's very accurate. But the CGC stuff kind of reminds me of Wizard back in the 90s, which they would tell you all these inflated numbers, tell everybody what they want to hear, your collection's worth all this money. And the joke back then was the way to spot a crooked dealer at a comic show was he bought by Overstreet and he sold by Wizard.
Yeah.
Oh, always sold by Wizard.
Yeah.
I love Wizard.
I
had my back issues humming back then, though. It was great.
Yeah.
This was a store I worked at.
Yeah, there was a happy period there, but then there was the other half of that decade.
Well, and I don't mean like, Valiant started up and the first issue is a $20 book already and there's glow-in-the-dark something and it's $50. I don't mean like that, but when you would get into like, they'd have a nice little piece about somebody and then they would highlight their books and they were, usually $1 or $2 over cover,
Yeah.
but
that was what Wizard gave us.
$120 over time.
Wizard, one of the most powerful things Wizard did that does not get nearly enough recognition is Wizard did a good job of marketing people and creators and books, and much better than the publishers do. And when Wizard went away, nobody really ever took that on. The comic news sites are a joke. Nobody's really doing this for comics, and that would be a huge benefit to the industry. Somebody would just come in and market some of this stuff. Like I said, do a little profile on new creator, get some interest, raise some of those back issue prices. That is desperately needed.
So the beginning to the end for Wizard was when they dropped the price guide. Same thing with the CGC fan. They dropped the price guide. They weren't around that much longer. Just when you drop the price guide, that's one of the reasons to buy it. People want to keep up with the pricing, and you can't just say, "Oh, well, they're just going to go online," because, you want somebody who's kind of going to reliable filter of that, because you're seeing all sorts of wacky stuff online, and you want somebody to say, "Okay, this is somebody I can trust what they're telling me." And you need that guide.
Yeah, that's true.
I just wrote down a note: be the new Wizard. Since
be the new Wizard. Oh, it sounds expensive. Sounds thankless.
Robots probably wiped their idea from their little Toy Fair strips they had in the every issue. I mean, they did some fun stuff.
Well, I used to get the Wizard magazines all the time because I'd take the little card out and send it in for the 1/2 issues that they were always doing exclusively.
They're all not completely worthless.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. But it's funny because I do think you could replicate a lot of what Wizard does, especially online, pretty easily, pretty cheaply. The trick, though, is you have to come in, you have to be agnostic to everything that's going on. You're going to have to promote all different things. And you can't take a side. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people who come into this, they want to cozy up to creators. They want to have one side or the other, and they blow it. As soon as you start doing that, you've lost kind of your ability to traverse, and then then you're not going to be Wizard anymore. And you've got to be able to come in and just have a level playing field. And you'll said it will be a thankless job, I think, for about 2 years. And then if you do it right, you would stumble into being the critical source for everyone. It just
and of course the whole point of not the whole point of, but the whole danger of not taking a side right now, given how schismatic comics
Polarized.
online right now. Just by interviewing and promoting the wrong person, you have by default taken some sort of a side in the eyes of everybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, how did it go with that guy that you interviewed last night, Perch? That
It
was
went
pretty
great.
cool.
People liked it. Yeah, he's a great guy. I will say, hands down, one of the smartest, well-researched guys in the industry. And I only had a couple people come in and say, "Hey, wait a minute, he did something for Kim and Kim. We got to burn that guy." No,
I thought it was going to be the Deadbeats thing that did him in.
Yeah, it was funny. I've talked to him before. He's a very smart guy, definitely, and people talk to people. That's what we need. We need people just will talk. What cracks me up about that situation, and he had brought it up, is that you have Deadbeats, and you had at the time, I think it was that Umbrella guy had a comic, and people were going, "Oh, they're trying to take our money. They're trying to take our readers," and on both sides, people are saying this. And I'm looking at this, and I know he was looking at this going, there is no crossover audience here. What are we talking about? There is zero crossover audience. This is a non-issue. Nobody needs to worry about this. No, neither book is stealing readership from the other.
Well, there may not have been crossover between Deadbeats and the Tale of the Littlest Umbrella, which was project he was doing for his daughter with some artists. But
right.
I have heard that same they're taking our money story more recently with the Keanu Reeves crowdfunded book Berserker on Kickstarter.
Yep. Yeah.
And I talked. I've never done this before, so I talked about it on my show, where we were talking about that OnlyFans situation with Bella Thorne, and it's just basically we have a celebrity that is getting into an arena where it's perceived that smaller people are the ones that are doing it, and it screwed up the whole ecosphere, the whole money situation going on over there, the ecosphere, I guess. And Keanu Reeves, they're kind of bitching that Keanu Reeves was doing that also. Like, he's a rich dude, he doesn't need this. Why is he coming in here and doing this? And it's like, I don't know if it's exactly the same thing, but it's an interesting thing to why would you think that?
It's dumb thinking. It's believing that there's only one pot of money, and it's the arrogance factor of it. A lot of people with a Keanu Reeves thing. It's like, hey, why don't you shut up and learn how to market and promote a comic book? They're giving you a blueprint right now in some ways of how to do it. Rather than get all worried that you're not making what you should be making out of Boom. I mean, if the Keanu Reeves book didn't exist, do you think you get a higher page rate? You would not. Mm-hmm. So you're the best possible outcome of this is that more fans get driven into comics. You get a bigger audience. You figure out some ways to copy some of what was done. You make more money. It's like,
oh, exactly, because Keanu Reeves fans are going to go to this page and say he's doing a comic book and he's behind it. He's in on it. A percentage of his fans will go there. And what's at the bottom of the Keanu Reeves Berserker Kickstarter page? Kickstarter saying, you may also like this comic and this comic and this comic, which are not Keanu Reeves projects.
Right.
So you got that referral thing going.
What do you think, though, about, all right, so me as a store owner, we as store owners, what do you think about the fact that they're kickstarting for this collection of it? Meanwhile, we're going to have it in our store. I mean, actually, I already put down the numbers for what I'm going to get, and then they announced that they're going to do this Kickstarter. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it. I mean, I don't like this model, but I also think it's inevitable. I think that we as store owners have to figure out a way to harness this, because I think that, I guess you could look at this as Boom is going to try and broaden the audience that knows this thing exists. If we work together, if we do it right, this will help me too. But it's a risk, certainly, that they just create another channel that bypasses me. I think it's a definite risk. But I know I can't stop that. So I have to figure out a way to either wrap my arms around it or, I can pound sand. It's not like me yelling at Boom's going to do anything.
Well, you say they made, I'm assuming they're making those returnable also. So that's at least a thing.
Yeah, that will help.
I heard on the Kickstarter thing, I had heard similar complaints several years back when Rob Thomas successfully kickstarted the Veronica Mars movie because all of a sudden it became not this, Shark Tank, small startup kind of thing. This was like a television producer just produced a multi-million-dollar movie through Kickstarter, and there was the usual, the same outcry from the smaller creators, like, why is he doing this when he can get the studio to put the money in? Is this really what Kickstarter was for?
Yeah, it maybe not, but I mean, what is Kickstarter for? I mean, I think that's defined by the people using it, and it's going to change year after year.
It's there to funnel money.
Exactly.
A lot
I
of
don't think there is a definition.
would never make it to the comic book stores anyway. They have to go through Diamond. Does Diamond even want to carry them? I mean, I've known publishers who had profitable books, and Diamond just said, "Well, you're not profitable enough to be worth our time."
Right.
Well, just to the marketplace.
Having crowdfunded sources would have been a lot better for me growing up when I had dreams of comic book stardom. You could at least do that, but time and place, right? Energy.
I know there is a new crowdfunded site starting up. With Indiegogo and Kickstarter. And it's got a unique kind of bent to it if it works out. It's in beta stages right now. For one thing, it's for comic books, for the comic book creator end, and the customer end is the retailer store. And it's indiecrowdfund.com, and the whole point of it is to have these crowdfunded books at a price break for retailers to be able to get them in their store and still sell them profitably.
Well, and see, these crowdfunders are realizing that they get hit so hard on shipping, each individual package, that there is at least, you can see why you might want a store, a hub to have your stuff, and you might actually just sell it a little cheaper.
Yeah, what's like with my Edgar Rice Burroughs 100-year art chronology, they still to this day, I can't talk them into even listing it with Diamond. They just don't even want to mess with them. And but a lot of the stores that would have been buying through Diamond, they just buying direct, or they bought them off of Kickstarter. We had one guy, they were shipping him literally skid loads out the warehouse. Whoa. And so you could offer, that's one thing as option now on both Indiegogo and also on Kickstarter, is to just create a retailer level and let them buy directly from you. They give them those discounts there.
And that most recent one with I can't remember. It was Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel. Mm-hmm. They have a retailer tier, so I'll definitely, more likely, I'll be taking advantage of it.
Yeah, when you nail a lid on the distribution market for the comic book stores, people, the people make product want to do, still get it to the customers. They have to find other ways, and that's why the crowdfunders have done well. Is because Diamond has just not been an avenue anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I apologize. I need to dip out, but it's been wonderful chatting with you, and hopefully we can do it again.
I was just getting ready to close the door anyway. So I think we're all talked out for the night.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I got to get back to work on my other chronology I'm working on now. So
yeah, the Robert E. Howard chronology, right?
Yep. I'm still I'm working on. It's going to be 4 volumes all together. I'm mainly concentrating on the first one, still trying to get everything in there. First I was thinking, well, Robert Howard, how many books has he written? Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote like 72 novels. And man, this guy wrote a ton of short stories, all the fan press. I mean, poetry. I mean, one poetry book had like 700 of his poems, and I'm trying to trace down everywhere all this stuff has been published. And it's been quite a can of worms. I mean, it just seems like every time I finish one can, I'll find another one.
Good luck with that. And when you get something, put together, we'll have you on just for that some night. Just it'd be your show.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks.